Hello and welcome to Storytime with DLR Libraries. Today I'm going to tell you the tale of Thumbelina by Hans Christian Andersen. Once upon a time, in a land not so very far away, there lived a woman who longed for a tiny little child. So she went to an old witch who gave her a magical barleycorn. The woman thanked the old witch, paid her some pennies, the shiniest she had. She went home and planted the barley seed in her prettiest flower pot on her sunniest windowsill. At once, a large and handsome tulip sprouted with red and yellow petals. The flower opened, and in the centre sat the tiniest little girl. She was so small and delicate that the woman called her Thumbelina. The woman made Thumbelina a cradle from a walnut shell with a mattress of blue-violet petals and a red rose-leaf bed cover. During the day, Thumbelina played on a plate filled with water and edged with a floral wreath. Thumbelina, who was only an inch high, sailed from one side of the plate to the other on a large tulip petal. One night, as Thumbelina slept, an ugly old toad hopped in through a broken window pane. "She will make a lovely wife for my son," thought the toad. She picked up Thumbelina in her walnut shell cradle and carried her away. The toad and her son lived in a muddy, marshy banks of a babbling brook. The toad's son was slimy and warty, exactly like his mother. When he saw Thumbelina, he said, "Croak, croak, crack, crack." His toad mother hushed him. "Don't be so loud, or she will wake, and then she might escape, and you will have no bride. Come, let us put her on a lily pad." Early the next morning, poor Thumbelina awoke and found herself on a great big green lily pad surrounded by water. The old toad bowed to Thumbelina and said, "Here is my son. He is to be your husband, and you will keep house together down in the mud." All the toad's son could say was, "Croak, croak, crack, crack." They took Thumbelina's pretty walnut bed, leaving her alone on the leaf crying. The little fish in the stream felt sorry for her and swam down and gnawed and bit the stem of the lily pad until the leaf floated free. The lily pad carried Thumbelina where the old toad and her son could not follow. Eventually, a white butterfly landed on the leaf. Thumbelina took the sash from her dress and tied one end around the butterfly. The butterfly pulled the lily pad faster and faster. Suddenly, a huge doodlebug swooped down, snatching up Thumbelina with his claws. Thumbelina was terribly afraid and worried about the butterfly still attached to the lily pad. The doodlebug didn't care and sat down with Thumbelina on the largest leaf of a nearby tree. He told her she was the prettiest thing he had ever seen. All the other doodlebugs came to inspect Thumbelina. The young doodlebugs twitched their feelers at Thumbelina, saying, "She has only 2 legs. How wretched! She has no feelers." The old mother doodlebugs declared how ugly Thumbelina was. Eventually, the doodlebug that had caught Thumbelina began to believe this too, and no longer cared for her. He flew down from the tree and left her on a daisy. Poor Thumbelina spent the whole summer and autumn alone. She made herself a shelter under a broad dock leaf and ate nectar from flowers and drank dew from grass blades. Then winter came, and her dock leaf shelter shriveled up. Close by was a cornfield, which after the harvest was bare stubble. Thumbelina, wrapped in a withered leaf, walked through the stubble shivering from the cold. To tiny Thumbelina, the stubble was as tall as trees. Eventually she came to the door of a cosy little home belonging to a field mouse. Thumbelina knocked at the door and begged for just one piece of barleycorn. The old field mouse took pity on Thumbelina and offered to let her stay if Thumbelina would do the housekeeping and tell her stories. Thumbelina did as the old field mouse asked, and they passed their time very comfortably. "My neighbour will visit soon," announced the field mouse. "He wears the most beautiful black velvet coat. If you had him for a husband, you would be well provided for. But he cannot see, so you must tell him your best stories." Thumbelina was not pleased with the idea of him, a mole, as her groom. He had a great dislike of the sun and flowers as he couldn't see them. When the mole came a-calling in his black velvet coat, the field mouse bade Thumbelina to sing. The mole fell in love with her voice. It was so sweet. The mole graciously permitted Thumbelina and the field mouse to walk along the tunnel to his home. Midway, the tunnel was blocked by a dead bird. That night, Thumbelina could not sleep. She felt sorry for the dead swallow. She left her bed and walked down the dark tunnel to where it lay. Thumbelina wrapped the bird in a plaited hay mat and soft cotton taken from the field mouse's room. "Goodbye, sweet bird, and thank you for your sweet singing throughout the summer," whispered Thumbelina, and placed her head on the bird's chest. Thumbelina was startled to hear a thumping from within the bird. The bird was not dead, just cold, and her warmth had revived it. Thumbelina was terrified, as she was but an inch high and the bird was so very much bigger. She decided to be brave, and next night stole out again and found the bird alive but feeble. "My grateful thanks, sweet child. I am warm now, and soon will be strong enough to fly in the warm sunshine." "No, no," exclaimed Thumbelina. "It is cold outside with snow and frost. Remain here and I will care for you." The swallow stayed in the tunnel all winter. When spring arrived, the swallow bade Thumbelina farewell and flew away into the golden sunshine. That summer, Thumbelina was very sad, as she was not allowed to venture outside. "You must make your bridal wardrobe of wool and linen," said the field mouse to Thumbelina soon after the mole had announced his intention to marry her. When autumn came, "You shall marry in 4 weeks," announced the field mouse. Thumbelina cried and said she would not. "Humph! Don't be stubborn, or I will bite you. He has the finest black velvet coat, a full larder and cellar. What more could you want in a husband?" On the wedding day, the mole came to fetch Thumbelina to live forever underground with him. "How I shall miss the beautiful sun," sadly thought Thumbelina. She ventured a little way into the field and heard the tweeting of a bird. The swallow was flying overhead and delighted to see Thumbelina. She started to cry as she told the bird she was unwilling to marry the mole and live underground. "The winter is coming and I am away to warmer lands. Will you come with me?" asked the swallow. "We will fly away to where it is always summer and the flowers bloom." "Yes, yes, I will go with you," exclaimed Thumbelina as she seated herself up on the swallow's back. The bird flew high in the air above forests, steep lakes and tall snow-capped mountains. When they reached the warm countries, the swallow flew on and on to the seashore. There, under majestic green trees, stood the ruins of a white marble palace. Vine-wrapped pillars were topped with countless nests. "Here is my house," said the swallow. "If you prefer, you can choose the flower as your new home." The prettiest white flowers grew between the broken pieces of a fallen marble column. It was there that the swallow set Thumbelina down. To her amazement, within the flower was a man just as small as herself. He had a golden crown and bright fluttery wings. At first the king was afraid of the swallow, who was a giant compared to him. His fear turned to delight when he saw Thumbelina. He took off his crown and placed it on Thumbelina's head, asked her name, and if she would be his bride and queen. As he was a very different bridegroom than the toad's son or the mole, Thumbelina accepted. Out of all the flowers stepped a tiny man or woman bearing a gift. The best present was a pair of delicate wings that fastened to Thumbelina's back. Now she could fly from flower to flower. When the seasons changed, the swallow flew away again from the warm lands to the land not so far away. There, in a nest above the window of a writer, the swallow sang of Thumbelina's adventures. And that is how we have the tale of Thumbelina. I hope you enjoyed this story time. Until the next, goodbye.